tell of the Battle of Hastings has happened in days long gone by, when Duke William became King of England and Harold got shot in the eye. He was this way one day in October, when the Duke, who were always a toff, having no battles on at the moment, had given lads the day off. They'd all taken boats to go fishing, when some chap in Conqueror's ear says, "Let's go and put the breeze up the Saxons." Says Bill, "By gum, that's an idea." Then turning round to his soldiers, he lifted his big Norman voice, saying, "Hands up, who's coming to England?" That was swank, because they hadn't the choice. They set sail one evening at tea time. The sea was so calm and so still, and by 9:45 the next morning they arrived at a place called Bexhill. King Harold came up as they landed, his face full of venom and hate. He said, "If you've come here for the regatta, you've arrived just 6 weeks too late." At this William rose, cool but haughty. He said, "Give us none of your cheek. You'd best have your throne reupholstered. I'll be wanting to use it next week." When Harold heard this here defiance, with rage he turned purple and blue. He shouted some rude words in Saxon, to which William answered, "And you?" 'Twere a beautiful day for a battle, and Normans set off with a will, and when they was duly assembled, they tossed for the top of the hill. King Harold won the advantage, and on the hilltop took up his stand, with his knaves and his cads all around him, on his horse, with his hook in his hand. Now Normans had nought in their favour. Their chance of victory seemed small, for the slope of the field were against them, and the wind in their faces and all. The kick-off was sharp at 2:30, and soon as the whistle had went, both sides started banging each other till swineherds could hear them in Kent. Now Saxons had the best line of forwards, well armed with both buckler and sword, while the Normans had the best combinations, and by half-time no one had scored. So the Duke called his cohorts together. He said, "Let's pretend that we're beat. Once we get the Saxons on the level, we'll cut off their means of retreat." So they ran, and Saxons ran after, just exactly as William had planned, leaving Harold alone on the hilltop, on his horse, with his hook in his hand. When the conqueror saw what had happened, a bow and an arrow he drew. He went right up to Harold and shot him. He were offside, but what could they do? The Normans turned round in a fury and gave back both parry and thrust. 'Twere all over by the shouting, and you couldn't see Saxons for dust. And when the battle were over, they found Harold, stately and grand, sitting with an eyeful of arrow, on his horse, with his hook in his hand. And that is the true story of the Battle of Hastings.